So there's something extra special about the full moon happening today that it kind of warrants another episode. This is an Aquarius full moon on Wednesday, July 29th. It is the first full moon since the North and the South nodes changed signs. And the signs that the nodes switched into were, in fact, Leo and, drumroll, Aquarius. So there is some double Aquarius energy, being that there's a full moon in the early degrees of Aquarius while the North Node ingresses into the late degrees of Aquarius, which happened on this past Sunday, so a few days ago. And it beckons this 18-ish month cycle where the first 6 months are super potent thanks to this full moon. Welcome to the Horoscope Vault, a podcast that explores the world through the lens of astrology, with a view to supporting you through life's ups and downs and helping you make more confident decisions through each chapter. I'm Charlie, an associate member of the American Federation of Astrologers and astrology reader for radio's Hall of Fame, The Bob and Sherry Show. This episode takes a little bit more of a magnified look at the nodes, changing signs, and the full moon relevance this week. So the North and South node in astrology, they are not literal objects like the sun and the moon and such. They are these fictitious points that are calculated from the intersection of two paths. So it's the moon's orbit around the Earth and the Earth's orbit around the sun. These two orbits, these two paths intersect. And it's the North node, also the ascending node, which is the point where the moon crosses from the south of the ecliptic to the north of the ecliptic. And then the south node, the descending node, is the point where the moon crosses from the north of the ecliptic to the south. These nodes are not literal points. You can't look up and see them. They are established through movement. And the nodes stay in a constellation vicinity for a little bit over 18 months. And the math of that is really simple. The zodiac is 360 degrees. There are 12 signs, each sign covering 30 degrees. The nodes spend about 18 months in each sign because they take 18.6 years to travel through all 12 zodiac signs. So if we divide 18.6 years by 12 signs, that equals roughly 18 months per sign. So we know the North Node is the point where the moon is crossing from the south to the north of the ecliptic, and then the South Node is the point where the moon crosses from the north to the south of the ecliptic. Let's look at the symbolism. Symbolically, the North Node, north, is kind of always going to represent where things are headed. It's the unfolding of the universal law of cause and effect, where basically we reap what we sow. The nodes in astrology are very karmic, and that is because they're to do with travel. If we're looking at the fact that they're created through the crossing of two orbits, and orbits are a path upon which the planets are on. The moon is on its path around the Earth is on its path around the sun. The crossing of these two paths, the intersection of these two paths, are about where something has come from and where it's going to. It's the literal journey of these astrological or astronomical or solar system bodies. And the journey of where something has come from and where it's going to is often considered destiny, and destiny is very karmic. So the karma is about how you travel through life or how you are traveling through life in any one moment. So if we're talking about the transit nodes in real time, like what's happening now in real time, that's a collective experience of karma and destiny. In your natal chart, the nodes are never going to change signs every 18 months like they do in transit. So it is your fixed karmic path of life. So the North Node symbolizing where you are going, it's that destiny. The South Node symbolizes the past, and it brings its karma. It represents habits, patterns, and maybe sometimes some unresolved lessons that you are bringing with you on this journey, on your journey, if we're talking about in your natal chart, or, this chapter of your journey, if we're talking about unfolding node changes in real time. In some branches of astrology, the South Node talks about a past life. And I'll maybe do an episode on that another time. But it is what you are bringing along with you on this path. You could call it baggage. But in the transit South Node, it is collective understanding and transformation. But the transit South Node is about collective understanding and transformation that is coming from experiences that are familiar, that have repeated from the past, that we have been through before. Becoming aware of the patterns of the nodes is said to allow you to consciously move beyond your current chapter. It's traveling into the next step. It's the true story of growth and karma. What is interesting is that there are two calculations for the nodes. There is the true node and the mean node. So the true node follows the moon's actual slightly irregular motion, and that's because the moon's orbit wobbles. So therefore, the true node calculation is also a bit wobbly. The mean node smooths out those little wobbles into an overall average, including the consideration of any retrograde motion. So in this instance, when the nodes change signs, now they're in the process, the true nodes technically change signs on this most recent Sunday on July 26th. But the mean node is said to change signs around August 18th. So no matter what, whichever calculation is being followed, the July 26th true node, the August 18th mean node, we do know that from July 26th through to August 18th is this kind of passageway. It's a threshold of transformation. Look around in your life right now. Does it seem like there are kind of a lot of changes pending? And I know that change is always constant. We know that. But does there seem to be more profound changes coming up, some bigger changes that create more impactful effects than the usual daily life oscillating changes that we're used to? The nodes are hovering at 29 degrees of their respective signs. For the South Node, that is 29 degrees of Leo. For the North Node, 29 degrees of Aquarius. The South Node and what we are in the process of transforming or transmuting in the sign of Leo is all about attachment to and effects of drama. Leo is a very talented sign with a lot of showmanship to it. Leo is the sign of the stock market. It's a sign of self-focus and self-centeredness. What I do find interesting is how every North and South Node article that you will read on the internet right now says that the South Node in Leo means moving away from self-centeredness. And that is not exactly correct. Most astrologers take the idea of the South Node and what you're moving away from as very matter of fact and all of nothing and this versus that in their approach. But the nodes are connected. They are not disconnected. They are related. And you cannot physically have one South Node without the North Node. You can't have them independently of one another because the orbits cross both north to south and south to north. They depend on each other in the orbital process and the calculation process. Therefore, they depend on each other in their symbolism. Most astrologers will say that the South Node means stop doing this and that the North Node means start doing that. But because you can't have one without the other, the interpretation should be slightly different. They depend on each other in terms of the South Node provides something necessary for the North Node path to develop. So I really disagree with the pop astrology notions out there right now that we are moving away from self-centeredness. I don't believe that to be true or correct. It's more like this is a time to use your skills and your talents and putting yourself first, using the information gained from the South Node to pursue the North Node. So self-centeredness and quote unquote selfishness and talent and skill being linked to the South Node, this whole me first attitude that people chastise with anything Leo is very oversold because it is important to put yourself first. Don't they say in airline safety displays, make sure to put your oxygen mask on first? And the reason is actually eventually selfless, because you're no good to anyone if you're not fully okay yourself. So the main assumption that the Leo South Node is about being utterly, utterly selfless is, in my opinion, utterly, utterly wrong. What it does mean is that healthy selfishness means putting your oxygen mask on first in life right now. It means the next 18 months are you getting yourself together so that you can be of service to others somehow. The degree theme at 29 degrees of Leo, which is kind of conjunct the fixed star Regulus, but I'll talk about that another time. 29th degree of Leo right now, where the South Node sits, is sat in this detrimented expression. It's about suitability. It's about a level of anxiety specifically over following your own path. Maybe there's some anxiety about putting yourself first, some constant stressful alertness and nervousness in making a change for fearing losing what you already have. It is in itself this current fear of change, the fear of putting yourself first, because somehow that may have been painted as wrong. The North Node in Aquarius is going to be about hopes and expectations. Aquarius is all about the future. And it is about what you hope to experience. It's the hope of evolution. It's the hope of technology benefiting instead of causing problems. The North Node in 29 degrees of Aquarius is about adaptability, and it's the creativity to make the most of what is available. It's the maximization of potential within limitations. Together, the idea of the fear of putting self first and then the maximization of potential within limitations seems to be telling this story of doing your current reality differently, paying a little bit more attention to yourself and what yourself needs. It keeps bringing me back to this: put your oxygen mask on first. Or another saying is to fill your own cup. This is about conditionally working on yourself and getting yourself together for the purpose of a hope or expectation. And this is where it gets good, because the general consensus is that all of us, you, me, them, her, him, they, everybody, should be finalizing your self-development, your growth, your confidence, your health, and so on, in order to be the best version of you for others. And where you will apply that ultimate pro version of yourself, once you have allowed yourself to put yourself first without fear of losing others, where that shows up does depend on your sign. It depends on where Aquarius falls in your chart as per your sun sign and your rising sign. So for Aries, sun and rising, working on yourself and putting yourself first puts you in better friendships and groups and teams and even political standings. It puts you around the right people. And part of that is allowing yourself to search for and discover and be open to the right relationships. And not to mention to allow yourself to have more fun. For Taurus, sun and rising, taking care of yourself and putting yourself first benefits you in your career. So it's about having and using a secure and stable home base where you put your needs of home first. And then you build a strong career on that stable home base, which means being a little bit more in control or in charge at home. Gemini, sun and rising, putting yourself first means putting yourself out there in some kind of way. It's using your voice to publish something, using your voice to teach, and getting out your views, getting your voice out there in the world or even on the World Wide Web. Cancer, sun and rising, putting yourself first and honing your skills in finance is what allows you to shine in any areas of security, money, real estate and business. From a place of income security where you put your income first, or you are in control of money and budgets, you get to do some of the most charitable work, maybe businesses and helping others, maybe real estate or something that just helps others in a very secure financial way. Leo, sun and rising, of course, this node shift is personal to you. And so the South Node in your sign is about getting you yourself in the place that you want to be in life, working on your body, working on your life direction, and then allowing yourself to experience better relationships because you've taken care of yourself first. This shows up in your relationships, your marriage, and your partnerships. Virgo, sun and rising, you doing you and being healthily selfish will lead to a better work-life balance. This is about more health and more time for fitness, and this does include better mental health too. Using tools and therapies and healing modalities has this long-term effect, positive effect, that lasts beyond the 18 months. Libra, sun and rising, the self-centeredness of this Leo energy, which is about putting yourself first and making sure that you're in the right company and around the right people who inspire you to be your best, means that you then have more joy and fun in the next 18 months. Maybe life hasn't been as fun as it should be, and you get to build a life where you're respected and you can have fun too when you change who you're around. Scorpio, sun and rising, being selfish in the work realm means using the strength of what you have already built professionally and letting that run itself so that you can go ahead and be there for family. Sagittarius, sun and rising, being selfish and prioritizing your education or using your education gives you more chance to explore life. It gives you more chance to live an exciting existence, which might be pretty welcome if you feel like you've been doing the same thing over and over for years. Capricorn, sun and rising, if we're looking at using the south node to reach the north node, this means using others' resources to improve your resources. So being selfish is just about being in control of use of resources and money that belongs to you in connection with others. This is using other people's skills and talents. This is directing other people. This is utilizing all the things that you see that are highly valuable in and around you with connections to other people. This is using everything in a connected way to strengthen yours and your loved ones and everybody else's stability. Aquarius, sun and rising, the north node is in your sign, so being selfish and almost picky in your relationships supports your image, your name, or your future, or this is leaning on a relationship for the benefit of your peace of mind, happiness, and future. Pisces, sun and rising, being healthily selfish and making sure that your physical body is literally healthy. You're only at your best when you take care of yourself and the food that you consume and make sure that there's not too much overexertion. Putting your physical self, health, and wellness first gives you a better peace of mind, a better connection with spirituality, and better experiences in general, with little to no regrets or karmic repercussions. And so make sure you listen to that for your sun and rising sign. But what I will say is different about this cycle is that the first full moon after the first true node sign change, this first full moon is in Aquarius. So it's in the same sign as the North Node. It is a full moon in the degree of prioritization, which was discussed in the regular weekly episode. I'll link that below. It is vital to prioritize yourself realistically and what you know you can and can't do, to be real about what you need to do and whether you can do it, to be realistic about the future. And then with Pluto in Aquarius too, which heightens this time frame, there is a lot of power in the future that you might not have access to right now, but you've got to pretend. The acting skills of Leo energy means fake it till you make it. And that method actually works. Last, but by no means least, there are two nodal transit times that this current ingress links to. And the first is the last time that the North Node was in Aquarius and the South Node in Leo. And that was in 2007 through 2008. If you can think back to your life in that time frame, what stands out the most then and how is that similar to now? And then the second time frame was in 2017, which was when the nodes were in the opposite configuration. So we had the North Node in Leo instead of Aquarius, and the South Node in Aquarius instead of Leo. Take a think back to 2017 through to 2018. What was significant back there? And then look at whether or not that is being resolved now, whether it's being handled now, or if it's better somehow. Or is it part of your story unfolding more? And just remember that this full moon, it is okay to be selfish as long as it's for good reasons. As long as it's not you thinking that you're above others, it's about being the best version of yourself for others, which requires using and honing your strengths and skills, becoming as self sufficient as possible because this world is changing quickly. This is about opening your mind to some really big life changes and being able to prioritize what's important, becoming a bit of a heroic leader of your story. That's it for this episode. I really just wanted to kind of extra hit home on how big this full moon is in what it's setting up for the next 6 months. I'll be back with another episode soon. And until then, bye.